frame, say you're saving for retirement, typically the younger you are, the more aggressive you should be in that's common logic. However, it doesn't hold true. I have some people who are in their, late teens or early 20s who just can't stand the idea of seeing their money go down in value. They just want an interest-bearing sort of account for their retirement plan. I have had a client who he was 92 or 93 when he died, and he was aggressive the whole 15 years that I knew him. And, every year we'd have the conversation, and he's like, yeah, I know I'm old. I'm still an aggressive investor, and I have enough money that if it goes down 20%, I'm okay. And, that it served him well. I mean, he was really rewarded for that. The market cooperated in his circumstances. But so I think the number one disservice that you can do to yourself as an investor or as a financial planner can do to you is to put you in something that is the wrong risk tolerance.
Okay.
If you're doing it yourself, there's online tools, questionnaires to help you with that. An advisor can help you with that through either a conversation or, most financial planning companies have tools that you can do to determine risk tolerance as well. Taking somebody who's a conservative investor and getting them into the stock market, they are the people who will sell when things go down, right? They'll do the opposite. They need to be comfortable with that level of risk. If they're laying in bed at night and they can't sleep because their account went down 5%, they should not be in that risk tolerance. So if you're doing it yourself, there's most companies now either have a target date fund where, you pick when you want to get that money. So let's say you're going to retire in 2040. You buy a 2040 fund, and that fund will get slowly more conservative as you get closer to there. Or other companies have risk-based portfolios. So, you can get something that's a moderately conservative or a moderate or moderately aggressive or aggressive, sort of portfolio. And you can work with the advisor on that circumstances to determine when you want to be in which of those portfolios and, when to make that change. So, I think that makes it a lot easier. 10 years ago, those sorts of things didn't really exist. So it does allow you to set it in to a certain sense, forget it, to use an old term. But, you need to stay on top of that risk because staying risky too long is bad, but not being risky enough up front, unless you're really, really risk adverse, can also cost you a lot of money over time. But we typically see after the market's gone up a whole lot, people will start to decide they have more tolerance for risk is because they've seen they've been left behind. And that's normally the bad,
that's
normally the
a
wrong
bad
thing
time
to do.
Get into it. Yeah, get emotional and you're like, hey, market's up. I'm going to throw a bunch of money into it now. And and I'm going to sell when it's down. And again, really, when it goes down, 10, 15, 20%, that's when you should be putting more money into it because over time it's going to come back. But I'm one of the things that I think is really important and part of the value of having a financial planner is to have someone to help you manage that risk, know what level of risk you should be in. Because even very smart people, listen, just because you have a PhD and you can run a lab creating breakthrough drugs that save people's lives doesn't mean you know a whole lot about investments, just like I can't run that lab, right? So, it is an important thing to stay on top of. And, a lot of our conversations with clients go around what your risk tolerance is, when do you need the money, what kind of tax advantages, if any, can we get at that? They're sort of the really big things for people. And then when people get into retirement, even though they know that they may make less money because of it, they're looking for some guarantees. So that's times where sometimes, not for everyone, but for certain people. What kind of guarantees are available?
Well, you can do things with different types of annuities where you can guarantee streams of payments, either over the course of a certain amount of years or the course of a lifetime or a lifetime of you and a spouse or significant other. That's not something you want if you're 25, 30, 40, right? 50 even normally. That's normally something you're looking at when you're 55 plus. And, some of them you can actually look at pre-funding. So you're 55 and you say, well, in 10 years from now, I want an extra $2,000 a month. Okay, well, how much money do we need to put in there to let it grow? And it can be a variable growth or it can be a guaranteed growth or, something in between. A lot of different types of products out there. And, so that that when you turn 65, you have that extra, just say $2,000. That's worth it to some people, right?
Right.
They're willing to give up the 10+% return for the guarantee that they have that payment there. So, it's, and not that I'm trying to push annuities, I think they get a bad rap that for a lot of people they're not right, but for a certain segment of the population, they provide a very important role. And if you really think about it, an annuity is basically just a supplemental pension. So it's very similar to your Social Security, for example. You pay into Social Security when you get to a certain age, you get an annuity payout. Right, we don't call it annuity, we call it Social Security, but it's a pension. It's the same sort of thing. So basically, you're offshoring that risk onto the insurance company at that point. So you're having that guaranteed payout, and the insurance company's taking the risk for that. So it's a powerful tool for the right people, and yet you don't make as much money necessarily. But when you're 65, if you have enough, there's the old saying. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. There's no reason to be a hog sometimes.
Yeah, don't get greedy.
Yeah. So, I think again, for the right person, that guarantee is important. And we see with the baby boomers aging, whereas the previous generation, the World War II generation, let's say, was a little more
risk adverse.
Well, no? they were more into interest-bearing stuff than stock stuff, but they didn't necessarily want to give up control of their principal. Because sometimes you have to do that with an annuity. I find the baby boomers that they've lived through the .com bust, right? They've lived through the financial crisis. They're starting to get to the point where they're like, what? We know we can live on this money that we have. If they've done well, let's lock some of this in. Let's make sure that we have an income. Let's not just try and make it grow. And so that's an important thing. And an annuity would also be something that I talked about dollar cost averaging out of the market that would prevent you from doing that. You wouldn't do that at that point. So yeah, I mean, it's a powerful tool for the right folks.
Okay. Any last points of advice for tonight?
There's a lot of information out on the internet. Some of it's good, some of it's not good, some of it's just flat out lies.
Ooh.
So I think go ahead, do your research. If you're on a website that you consider credible and you find something that you think is neat or that looks interesting, look around, ask some folks. I find most people that invest for themselves, they have other people they know that do the same thing, be it a parent or a sibling or a friend or whoever it may be. Don't be afraid to bounce ideas off of each other. This is a really big economy. It's a really big marketplace. If you tell your friend that you think, XYZ is going to go up for this reason, it's not like most likely either if you have enough money to actually affect the movement of that one stock. I think it's important to do that. I would always say that if anyone tells you that you always have to do something or you never should do something, be very wary of that advice, because if a product or a strategy is legal, it's probably legal for a reason. Maybe not, again, maybe it doesn't fit. Maybe it's like an annuity. Maybe it's not good for a lot of people, but it may be good for some people. And I see some of the people who get paid a lot of money to play financial planners on television, have talk shows or blogs or whatnot, that will say, well, you always need to do this. You never need to do that. And, of course, then they try and sell you a book or a kit or a newsletter or something like that. So just be wary if someone's telling you always or never. I really do believe that that's something that you got to be careful about. And, if you do hire an advisor or something, just make sure you feel like they have your best interest, not theirs, definitely your best interest in mind. And, I find that a lot of my clients, you get to be friends with them, you get to know them over the years and everything, and when they pass away or their spouse passes away, that could be a little tough, but it's not always about the flash, it's not about the fancy office, or you want a professional, right? But, you want somebody that you can trust. And I think that's really what it comes down to.
I think trust is definitely important. You want to trust somebody that's going to be handling your money.
I want to trust my doctor. I want to trust my accountant. I certainly want to trust my mechanic because I don't want my brakes to give out.
Right.
Trusting your financial planner is a good thing. If you don't get the right vibe, even though somebody may have recommended them to you, if it's just not the right fit for you, look for someone else. And if somebody's promising you this, that, and everything, be wary of it. But if you have a good feel for them, I think that's really important.
Okay. Anthony, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sean.
Makers and Breakers, if you want to hear more from us, go to makersandbreakerspodcast.com. Thank you very much. Everybody have a good night.